Okay, I was going to give everybody a few minutes to join, but we're actually recording this, so I want to go ahead and get started now. We could always send out a link to the recording. So, hi everyone. My name is John, and I am the co-founder of Brick+Work. We are an online platform that provides real estate development feasibility reports in Los Angeles. Our primary user base are real estate agents, both commercial and residential, along with real estate developers themselves, property owners, architects, and others. So the reason why we wanted to hold this training over Zoom today is because we've seen quite a pickup in activity recently, obviously with everyone working remotely. And our reports are perfect for being able to prospect, network, and eventually close some real estate transactions. So I'm going to start with a quick look at one of our reports, just an overview, then to go into the actual prospecting and how to use the reports to start conversations, develop relationships, and also close these developers. I'll keep it super short. I'm only going to do 10 minutes. We're already in week, 8, 9, or 10 of this, right, stay at home. So I've been privy to a lot of other webinars, and I noticed that, I think it'd be much better served if there's more dialogue between us and questions and comments. I'll get to as many as I can. So if you look down here, this is Zoom, there is a Q&A button. Anytime during the presentation, if a question comes up, go ahead and type it in. And after my presentation, I'll go ahead and start answering as many questions as I possibly can. In addition to that, I just wanted to let you know I have Tucker and Mia on the team as well, and they're going to answer more of the specific questions regarding the reports. There are urban specialists at Brick+Work. They're the ones that are actually doing the reports and the research, and so we can go into more detail with them as well. But again, this whole my point was really to kind of highlight what other users are coming in for, and I wanted to kind of share the power of our reports when it comes to that use case. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, guys. So I wanted to show one of our reports here, and this is for 5484 Wilshire Boulevard. So I have it pulled up here. This is in the Miracle Mile neighborhood, right off of Wilshire Boulevard and Dunsmire Avenue. And it's this property here. It's one lot, it's a commercial. I'll go ahead and start going into the report. So this is zone C4. It's going to net about a max unit of 186 units. You're looking at the existing lot, just shy of 20,000 square feet. It's a tier 4 for TOC, and it consists of one lot. So our reports go through existing conditions, which is just the current floor area. But more importantly, I wanted to scroll down here. Now, the development potential here by right means that without going for any sort of density bonus programs out there, you're looking at what you can build just right off the bat. So FAR is floor area ratio. It's 6:1. It's really higher than some other zoned areas, just again, specifically because this is a C4. It's right on Wilshire Boulevard, and it's so it's going to always net kind of more density. And if you scroll down here, we have the setbacks, we have a footprint envelope. This is the max dwelling units, 102 units that you can build by right, okay? Again, without going for any density bonus programs. The parking required is gonna be here. You're gonna have the bicycle parking, transitional height limitations, required open space. etc. And now we're going to go right into the development potential with TOC or DB. Now, what is TOC? TOC is transit-oriented communities, okay? And it was passed back a few years ago, LA City. It's more of an incentive by the city, which needs affordable units, letting developers build within a certain radius of a mass transit site. And again, this could be light rail, subway, intersecting bus lines, and they're going to give bonuses when it comes to floor area ratio. Now you're looking at 9.3 to 1. And if you scroll down here, even the envelope, because of the floor area ratio, jumps up to 180,000 square feet. And now your max units are now 186 max units. So obviously, these are these are just the gross max units. And what comes with that is the city needs affordable units. So it's a give and take. So you're gonna have to provide affordable units in these three categories: 11% extremely low, 15% very low, 25% low. This is determined by the housing department in LA, but roughly you're looking at, if you do the math here, about 165 units are going to be market, and the remaining is going to be affordable, about 22 or 23 units here. No parking required with TOC, and of course that is just what's laid out there for the developer. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to be able to provide parking, because again, it just depends on the neighborhood and the specific development in mind. But these reports kind of just provide the developers of what is possible on any given site. If I scroll down here, the next section I kind of want to highlight is the restrictions. Now, the value add for Brick+Work is that there are a lot of conditions and overlays in LA city planning, okay? And so with that being said, what we want to kind of do in the due diligence process is start to highlight some things that the developers need to look out for. So obviously here, rent stabilization ordinance, which otherwise is known as rent control, there's none afforded to this site, but there is a design overlay. And I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds on what a design overlay necessarily is in detail, but roughly what it is for that neighborhood, you have to conform to design standards, and the developer that's interested in the site will kind of already reach out to an architect that can look that up, and they will mass and design that according to this overlay. But again, we're just wanting to highlight that there is one. This is something I do want to get a little bit into detail with, are the Q&T conditions. Now, there are a lot of sites within LA City, if not LA County, that are subject to these conditions. And again, these are just overlays that specifically say, okay, even though, if I want to go into this site here, let's just say, even though this neighborhood allows for a floor area ratio of this, and you can do this, it might say everything around here except for this building has the Q condition, right? Or this site has the Q condition. And what that means is, so then, it's going to restrict what you're able to build here versus some of the other sites just around the area, even though that whole area and neighborhood has a specific plan, or right? And so that's what a Q or a T condition is. So it does have one here, and it's highlighted down here, which just means there needs to be additional research to pull that up. So now the next portion of this report is the analyzer. Now, what is the analyzer? So, this is more of a back of the napkin. So let's just say you're sitting at lunch with the developer and you're trying to pitch this site. So we created kind of a rough, calculator to determine, look, is this potentially going to be something that pencils, right, for us, and that we might be interested in. And it's, again, not to replace, the 100-line spreadsheets and models that typical developers have and use, and that goes into much more detail, right, on whether they're going to be able to build that site and it's profitable. But this again is a good starter. So I picked out for the site a type 3 build. The land cost is, again, it's up in the air because this site here might already have, and most surely has, the comps, right, for the valuation of this existing use as is, right, retail site, right, maybe office here above. So we're not contending with that value. What we're talking about is now dirt value. So the developer is going to go, okay, well, if I demo this, right, how much of a land cost would I be willing to pay that still is within the underwriting as far as being able to pencil the site? That's all this is. So this is enterable by you. I just entered 20 million here. The average rents in the area, most agents have access to rent.com, you know, Zillow even can kind of show you roughly the neighborhood and the rents that are, you know, the average rents in the area. But this also could be future rents as well. So Miracle Mile, if you guys aren't familiar, typically is of higher rent in this neighborhood. I would say this would be comparable to, maybe not as high as Santa Monica and certain parts of downtown, but it's definitely going to be on the higher range. So I entered $5 per square foot, and the cap rate I put 5.5%. So when when you press the calculate button, we entered in average construction costs here. So ultimately, you're looking at a certain amount of construction budget based on what you're trying to build. Again, we ran averages. We did not put in a specific unit mix, right? This is just all averages because we just wanted to start the conversation as far as starting from the averages, and then obviously, you could go into more specific detail on everything else. But as you can see, roughly, entering all of the gross rents and the budget and, the expense ratio. And again, we ran just the 25% average. It could be higher, it could be lower. We're coming up with an internal rate of return of 21%. So anything positive is obviously good, points to the right direction. But again, the developers are going to underwrite this and go, well, no, we're not seeing 21% because you're forgetting about, more income on this side, but more expenses on this side. So again, this is not to replace that. This is just the starter for that. So that's our Brick+Work report here. Now, this webinar training that I wanted to do was really, I noticed that we might already have in the room some architects and maybe even lenders that have different use cases, but I'm going to cover the use case for an agent, a real estate agent, whether it's residential or commercial, does not matter. So the next step is, okay, this property is not for sale. It is not, right? And so this is the part of the prospecting. It is, well, is it a good buildable site? And will developers be interested in this site? That should be the first question, right? And then so our reports will then provide a lot of the information that the developers will need to at least initially determine if they're interested and if they want to do some more research on the site. So that's what that is. I want to introduce you guys to Urbanize LA. I'm sure a lot of you already know this website. It really goes into a lot of the development projects that are occurring in LA City, County, Orange County. It's amazing. It's great. We use a lot of their posts on our social media because they do a lot of great research and they have they give insight on what's getting built or what's getting planned or what's getting submitted, right, by developers. But I wanted to highlight this one. So this is actually located a few blocks away, right, from our current report and our current target site right now. It's currently a Staples, right? And the owner is redeveloping that to a 42-story, roughly 285 unit, or actually, no, it's even more. It's 371 units, mixed use, right? It's going to be this huge tower that's going to be built, 400 million project, right? So if you read into the article, I always point a lot of our potential users or agents to this website, but I just need to highlight it here. Look, why we chose this site is it's on the extension of the purple line. This is exactly what developers are looking for. If you ever network with developers or have a chance to speak with them, they're always looking for their next site, and they're always gonna point you toward the purple line or the Expo line or the Crenshaw extension that's happening from LAX all the way north, hopefully connecting to the red line one day, right? Not obviously on light rail, but it's going to be a combination of everything with bus. But so anyways, this is Walter Marks, longtime owner of the Staples building, that is going to be developing this. You have the architects that are best known for the gas company tower. So why I wanted to highlight this is because the next step of the agent that is prospecting is going to be getting a lay of the land. So again, this website, if you look, they go through every neighborhood, right, that you want to target. So it's not just Miracle Mile, but again, for this example, we're using Miracle Mile. You want to get a lay of the land on what's being developed. You have an 18-story by UDR, you have a 20-story building by J.H. Snyder. So as you go through these links and through the developers, you're going to start to get an idea of what's getting built. But these type of builds, it's not only for the developers that are already building. It's for a lot of these type of developers that run into the same, they love building, 200 units plus, 150 units plus. They don't mind doing type 1 or type 3 steel. This is definitely type 1. So that's where the networking comes in, and a lot of the research can start here at Urbanize. So I just wanted to kind of end this to be like, well, once you have this report and you get a list of the developers, now is the time to really market it, mass email. You start to get bites on the site. What you're trying to do is generate interest for the site so that at that point, with the report in hand, and if they're willing to do more research, you can now approach the ownership of this building and see if they're willing to sell. Now, why that's important during COVID-19 and the pandemic is because there are a lot of retail sites that will, estimates are saying 20 to 25% of small businesses, after everything's said and done, will shutter and close permanently. So that's going to be a huge disruption to commercial real estate, right? And you're looking at this from a landlord perspective, owner perspective, that this was pre-pandemic, was a great generating passive income revenue. They weren't willing to sell. But post-COVID, or what we're going through now, a lot of these retail sites will be struggling moving forward on getting full occupancy. So there's going to be a more willingness to sell. Okay, so that's really why I think a lot of our top users recognize that, and they're starting to prospect more heavily. So I wanted to share this message or information out to you guys as soon as possible, in that more and more owners will be open, and the highest best use for a lot of these sites could potentially be a development, especially this one here. It's a corner lot, it's sizable. You can obviously build 186 units on this. As you can see, the other units, other buildings are going up here. So, this whole neighborhood is going to be redeveloped. So, okay, guys. So with that being said, that kind of concludes my portion. Again, I didn't want to keep this too long. Maybe I did go above the 10 minutes promised, but I'm going to stop the share here. All right. Looks like we have a lot of people watching. So I'm going to direct a Q&A. If you guys could go ahead and click the Q&A button down here. And if you have any questions so far regarding, and it could be a little bit more in detail, like little more detail on the reports, or if you guys have a specific scenario in mind, as some sort of, look, one other thing I want to say before you start to type in your questions is that these reports also work for residential sites, okay? I picked that site, the commercial site, again, really to tell the story of what's going to be happening moving forward with more ability to redevelop commercial sites. Okay, but even before the pandemic, when we launched, we were targeting R3, R4 lots, 3, 4, 5, 6 lots that are put together, assembled, could net with TLC 100, 150, 200 units. So let me highlight a neighborhood, Koreatown. So if you look through Koreatown, there are a lot of those type of developments that are happening. Urban infill, it's you know, existing triplexes or fourplexes that the agents kind of, you know, reached out to all the owners and packaged them up in one listing, and developers bought that and they're building as we speak, if not already built. So there are quite a few examples on Urbanize regarding that. So I'm not just gonna, you know, I don't want you to assume or think that this is only for commercial retail strips. It's actually for any property. Now, again, the reports will serve the purpose of doing due diligence and understanding what to not waste your time on and what to also to focus on. So with that being said, yeah, actually, Tucker, if you don't mind, I want to kind of just take the questions here. Daniel has asked, is your service for LA City sites only? Hi, Daniel. Yeah, no, it's not. So we started in LA City because obviously they set kind of, you know, the example when it comes to urban planning and zoning. And so, but we cover a lot of municipalities around here. So when we first launched, we were like LA City only, but we started getting a lot of requests for how about Santa Monica? How about Culver City? How about Pasadena? How about Long Beach? You know, there's a lot of movement there. So we started expanding. So we do cover those areas. Then we started to cover South Bay. We started to kind of see what's going on around there. Obviously, beach cities, a little bit tougher to build on, you know, but, you know, Torrance, Carson, you know, those areas are starting to boom. El Segundo, obviously, but there's just such little land in El Segundo as well. So we realize that. But yeah, we cover more and more areas. We're trying to cover all of LA County, but by demand. And so obviously the demand's not going to come when that specific city or that municipality is not opening up to higher density in their zoning and city plan. So, and Orange County too. So I think some examples of recent reports have been Santa Ana, Costa Mesa, you know, some parts of Irvine. I think Tustin is starting to build and look for sites. Anaheim, right? They're all the you know, hotels or mixed use sites that have been going up along the 5 near Disneyland and trying to you know, get more dense out there. So yeah, we do cover all areas outside. Our next target city is going to be San Diego. I know Tucker and team are working hard on that. We're probably about 90% covered and we're going to be expanding there, but ideally we still have a lot of room to grow here, especially with what's going on with COVID-19. As I said, yeah, we've seen a lot of pickup. There's a lot of requests and a lot of users that are now doing exactly what I just shared right now at scale and starting to reach out to a lot of owners of multiple commercial properties, right? REITs. There's a lot of just even developers that own a lot of properties that might not necessarily develop them themselves. The last thing I want to kind of share, if there's no other questions.
Hey, John, we have a couple of questions I want to butt in. Daniel, we do service Inglewood.
Oh
we
yeah, I see. Okay.
All of LA County. Yeah, if you want to, John, if you want to jump on the next one too.
Yeah, perfect. And then, so Tucker, thank you so much for doing that. And Tucker is here for any specific questions to the report. So now, you know, I just went real quickly on the reports, but if you need more detailed answers regarding certain parts of that report, we're here for you. Okay, so what opportunities do you see post-COVID if we want to drum up business in commercial real estate? Do you see better opportunities in office building or retail centers with bars, gyms, nail salons as tenants, sale, disposition, or multifamily with non-paying rent with deferred rents? If you were to move from residential into commercial, which sector would you focus on? What about hospitality? Amazing questions. Okay, so just to start, I think we're speaking more of the requests that are coming through from our users, okay? So we're not trying to come here and just follow the news and kind of message that. What we're seeing right now is definitely, I think, the sector that's gonna be hit the hardest is gonna be retail, undoubtedly, right? And so we're looking at requests of property types that are exactly what I chose today, if not retail shopping strips. I mean, there are a lot of them all over LA City and LA counties and even Orange County. So those are the top requests. And then beyond that, yeah, office building, Tucker could, I'm going to have Tucker chime in on the office building development potential for existing, but, co-living, co-working, they're all having some struggles now. I don't know if they're going to keep continuing to build those sites. I'm sure there's going to be, even traditional offices are already redesigning for social distancing and, more hygiene levels and all that stuff. So that might also be an opportunity. But for right now, that's the thing. Now to multifamily. So that's another good question. So I'm going to have Tucker right now chime in on office building and multifamily, existing use multifamily development, because we wanted to give you guys highest best use, right? To arm you with really, sites that you can, that developers really want, right? So those are always going to be the R4s, tier 3, tier 4, residential R4s with tier 3, tier 4. It's going to be the commercial, like we just saw, C4, C2. On a tier 4 is the highest tier. So you're going to get max density. You're going to go high, all that good stuff. So that's what we chose now. Not to say that office and multifamily is not going to be of good sites as well, but we're seeing less of that now. We'll see what happens moving forward. As far as on the multifamily, there's got to be a correction, but I don't think it's going to be as much as retail. But I'll let Tucker discuss the actual, the ability to build on a lot of those sites, given the inherent use and zoning.
Yeah, so obviously I'm not necessarily someone that's looking at real estate forecasts and economic trends, everything like that. But in my opinion, just from a policy standpoint, I know obviously business is suffering right now, and it probably will continue for the foreseeable future at least. But obviously, there's still a housing crisis here in LA, and I think that especially now, I think this whole crisis has kind of accentuated that. But I think that a good amount of money will be pushed into multifamily development than would be into strictly office buildings with business sectors kind of hurting. Yeah, as John said, like the trends that for building right now tend to be mixed use, where you're going to see a lot less buildings that are just used for, especially on the commercial quarters, like where John on Wilshire or Pico or Santa Monica. I think people are moving away from just building a big office building or a big apartment building and more into mixed use developments.
Okay, thank you, Tucker. The next question is, do you receive targeted areas that are transitioning from residential to commercial? Now, in regards to that question, I think I would ask, when you're asking about transitioning, are you talking about those R4, R3 residential zone sites that they want to now transition to commercial? Now, if that's the case, again, Tucker could answer to that. I think that's super difficult, right, Tucker, to get R4 to a commercial zone or commercial use, right? Unless it's part of, let's just say, the change or update in the master plan that's, you know what I'm saying, that's now changing inherent our residential use to more of an industrial or commercial use.
Yeah, as I said before, where it's more common to build mixed use now. So I would say, if anything, the trend before up to this would be the other way around, where you have a one-story commercial building turned into maybe a four-story residential or mixed-use building. Yeah, in terms of areas, just in the way that LA zoning works, it's kind of hard to bring commercial uses into an area that is predominantly residential.
Right. And so, yeah, yes. I would look into more sites that are going to be turning into mixed use. Pure retail, pure anything, I think is going to be more difficult. But look, just generally, we're all kind of at home right now, right? Doing this. So think about this moving forward. What product types are going to, because you know, everyone is you know, even the president of Cushman Wakefield was on in an interview that I was watching that said this is going to change commercial real estate agents. A lot of them have been forced to work remotely and adopt a lot of Zoom and these tools. And moving forward, even after all of this is said and done, a lot of them are going to retain that. So, you know, you have to build product that where now most people are going to be comfortable working remotely or semi-remotely, right? And so what product will adhere to that or kind of, you know, align with that? And that's going to be mixed use, right? So if you have a mixed use on, you know, a Purple Line extension where you can get on a subway, if you need to meet with the client or go into the office for whatever odd reason, you could do that, right? Quickly, right? From Santa Monica all the way to downtown and connect down, or go up to the valley or connect down, you know, to South Bay or even eventually to OC and back. But, you know, if you had a mixed use, a lot of the developers are adding in a co-working space within that mixed use apartment, right? And so, you know, you could use, you know, that space to work remotely if you don't want to work exactly at home. You can have new commercial underneath there that's going to kind of adhere to the new commercial, which most likely will be flex locations, pop up, right? Smaller, more flexible, right? Instead of just anchored for years and years and years. So again, to answer that question, yeah, I think the move is more toward mixed use and more toward residential. Okay, the next question we have is, can you search for R4, C4 sites with TOC benefits by neighborhood? Another good question. At this point, we have been we're planning on developing a map. So just like Google Maps, if you can envision, all of our reports, all this information will already be embedded in the database. So you could instantly just go into the map and just start to pick out, right, sites, and we'll automatically pull the reports up and also filter. We'll have a search function that you go, okay, fine, I just want to look at these sites with, you know, TOC 3 and up. Let me see where they are and let me start to prospect those sites only. That is on its way this year. We unfortunately don't have that available now, but the next best thing we do have are these reports that, again, we try to deliver same day. Currently, if you request the reports, we're still adhering to the same day, but the uptick in demand has obviously kind of, you know, we have the full team working on this, okay? So I just wanna answer that question as far as, it is coming, the map. We are trying to get that out sometime later part of this year. But for now, we have these reports that that we can deliver same day. So so that answers that. So I don't see any other questions. Yeah, I had hoped to more do a dialogue with you guys to kind of, you know, introduce Brick+Work. Some of you have already seen Brick+Work. A lot of our early adopters are, Marcus Millichap, Compass Commercial, CBRE. We have a lot of teams that do investment sales, multifamily, commercial, and all that good stuff, anything in between. They're also doing a lot of development assemblages. So we launched.
John, I just want to stop you. We got another question from Braden here.
Oh, okay, cool. It's very new to your service. Can you talk more about how Brick+Work can be used for prospecting development deals? Okay, Braden. So that walkthrough that sharing of the screen that I did, it was really meant to highlight the prospecting, but given we're under a pandemic, given there's going to be stress in the retail sector, right? And landlords are going to be more open to either a straight sale or a joint venture or ground lease. I mean, there are a couple options there as well that other developers are already in and building, right? And so given that environment, agents can now start to prospect, I think, in C4 sites. But look, even though we don't have the map, just think of it this way. A C site or a commercial site is any of the big street sites with retail shopping center strips, just straight retail standalone office buildings. So, all your big streets, right? In LA, those streets actually run north to south grid-like, right? That's how they design LA City. So, Wilshire Boulevard, Olympic Boulevard, Pico Boulevard, right? Venice, like all of these big Western, Vermont, all of these big streets are mostly commercial, right? Right on those big streets. So I would start to look at just the strips, right? The smaller business strips that are out there, because what's going on is even though that strip might be there from 20 years ago because it's near a freeway entrance, right? And so that was the play back then, right? Was really retail, there's certain sites, grab a quick bite to eat, a donut shop, right? Like there's certain targeted retail strips out there, but the inherent zoning on them now is great to build a new mixed-use site, a new apartment altogether, a condo, / hotel. I mean, depends on the site. So what I would do is just on a higher level, I would just start to look for those sites at scale and start to request those reports from us. We will provide those reports for you. And, and once you understand, wow, okay, out of these 10, 20 sites that I pulled, there's like 5 or 6 of these, or maybe 10 of these that actually a lot of these developers will really like. So now go on to sites like Urbanize LA, use your normal networking to go out there and go on LinkedIn. And a lot of these developers, whether it's from the analysts to mid-level to senior, right? They're all looking for sites. I mean, the developers typically are structured where they take investment from limited partners, and it could be a fund, it could be a family office, it could be a hedge fund or something, right? That want yield from the developer, and the developer takes those funds, lever them into multiple sites, and start to build. And once they build, right, the underwriting that I showed earlier is based on, are they going to be generating revenue after the build? What's the inherent value going to be at post-build? And one thing also is that a lot of these sites are already getting purchased post-build. So there are, the next apartments, which has a target underneath that's right on 6th and Virgil, kind of hugging between Koreatown and the Westlake neighborhood, right, which is just on its way to downtown, just got sold maybe a year post-build, and that never happened before. It normally took 5 to 10 years for a lot of these apartments to stabilize, to get bought by a Blackstone or any of these private equity or REIT companies that gobble up multifamily sites. But they're now purchasing. Brookfield is another one, which is the largest actually. They own a lot of the buildings in downtown. They're from Canada. So yeah, I would say anything that you build now successfully that sort of nets and has good right? You stabilize quickly is a target even for a post sale. Okay. There's another one in Koreatown off of Wilshire that just got purchased as well. So there's that trend is starting to follow. So these developers need to build. They have the limited partners, they have the funds, they have to put it to work, just so you know. So they're always looking, is what I think a lot of people don't realize, is they're always looking, and they need more sites. And a lot of these sites that you would be prospecting are pocket sites, right? They're not openly marketed on CoStar or anywhere else. So this is the opportunity and the time to start prospecting, to start to get those sites. So, all right, I hope that answered your question. I think now, without any more questions, I wanted to kind of end it here. But one thing I wanted to throw out there is we're actually going to give all of the attendees a credit for a free report. So, exactly what I said, it doesn't have to be in Miracle Mile. I just picked it here. If you're an agent in South Bay, use certain neighborhoods of Torrance and start pulling up properties. If you're in Highland Park, there's a lot of condos that I would direct you to, and townhouses that keep getting built. And I know reports are now starting to support, if you want to build, ADU, accessory dwelling unit, if you want to build 2 duplexes or 2 triplexes or 2 fourplexes, or, an 8-unit, 6-unit townhouse that are side by side. So there are going to be multiple products out there that are, residential in nature. So we're going to start to support that in our report. So go out and prospect for those specific neighborhoods. We'll give everyone a free credit for a report. Our subscription base and motto is we created, completely free novice account, right? Month to month, you can cancel anytime. You just have to pay per report and parcel. So even that report that I just shared right now, that commercial one lot, $50, that's it, right? And so now, once you see the value of Brick+Work and how it can help in your prospecting, a lot of our CBRE agents and Marcus Millichap agents are mostly pro users. Now we have a specialist level, of course, at $100 a month that you get 5 of these reports per month, and then the pros get 15 at $250 a month. All of them, again, month to month. You can cancel anytime, but a lot of our pro users have that canceled because, again, this will be part of their prospecting budget. And as soon as you close one of these, transactions, obviously that one, I just put in 20 million because, again, the current as-is value or the comps that you get from CoStar are going to be different than what the developer is willing to pay for. Now, I would direct you into researching in 2 ways. One is there is a general number per door. So some developers want to try to look for sites that are less than 100,000 per door. Some are more open to 100 to 150 because of the mixed use component. There's going to be retail at the bottom, right? So there's that too. And then if it's a mixed use site like the one that I just did on 5484 Wilshire, there's also a per square footage, right, on a gross level. So, those comps are all available public. So I would direct you to that. But again, I think the developers already kind of know what they want to look for and ask. So that's it right there. Okay, so if there aren't any other questions here, I'm going to leave one opportunity for questions. Thank you guys for being here. And again, I think our team is going to reach out to all of you. If you want, create an account for you, temporary password, provide a free credit so you can go ahead and request it. And we are here for any further questions as well on once you get the report, if you want a little more clarification. One last thing is this. So let's just say you now find value, you've gotten one of our reports, you emailed them to a developer now is looking at the site, you reach out to the ownership and you're in the middle and you're trying to negotiate this kind of deal, whether it's for a pure sale or a joint venture, but either of the two. And now the developer has more questions, right? They're like, wait, yeah, there's definitely a design overlay or a queue condition, but we want to find out more. Or we built a similar site around here and something came up during our entitlement process that kind of, we want to avoid, or we want to find out if that's going to be the case here, right? So that happens quite often or frequently. So our pro users, we provide that extra kind of per month usage where you could get one of our land use consultants on the phone, on a conference call with the developer, with their specific additional questions that we can research and solve for, okay? So I want to throw that out there. We do have just a little bit more that we provide for our pros when the conversation gets to a point where you're getting a very interested developer potentially wanting to put an offer or an LOI together through you for this site, but they have additional questions that they have. Okay, guys, thank you so much. There's no questions here. Really appreciate the time. We will send out a copy of this recording. The accounts, if you don't already have one, with the free credit. If you have an account, we'll pass along an additional free credit now, okay? Thank you, Tucker. Thank you, Mia. And have a great day. Thanks so much.